Hi and welcome to the Vasa Museum. My name is Emelie and I work here as a guide. And now when the museum is closed, we try to bring some Vasa information for you. And today it's my turn. And I would like to show you my favorite place here at the museum. The 1/10 of a model of Vasa that shows how the ship looked like back in 1628 when it was ready to sail. The model itself was made by 4 modelers from our sister museum, the Maritime Museum. It took them 12,000 hours in the years 1985 to 1990. And the model was done in time for when this museum opened in June of 1990. But at that time, all the sculptures were not painted, as you can see here at the transom. The beautiful sculpture here shows many of those over 700 sculptures that were found round and on board the ship. It is part of the war propaganda. Some of my colleagues had talked about the grotesque or the national coat of arms, and here you can see it on the model. When Vasa was salvaged in 1961, after 333 years in the water, it was quite dark and brown, as you can see over here. And this is one of the reasons why I like this model, is that it helps us to imagine how it must have been back in the days when Vasa was ready to sail. So when the ship and the sculpture were salvaged, they could still see some colors though, red, gold and blue. So that's what we thought for many years Vasa was painted like. But as you see here on the transom, there are many more bright colors. In the 1990s, they started a research project to try to figure it all out with the colors. They have looked at paintings from Holland at old ships, tried to figure it out that way, but also at some material list from the shipyard, what they bought in to paint the ship with. But they also did some chemical tests. They have taken small samples of the real sculptures, actually 1,000 of them, and after quite some time, I believe it was 10 years before it was all ready. And in 2008, we painted this model after the result they figured out. Quite beautiful, isn't it? And let's continue over here. More things to see. So, our model here have all the masts and all the sails up. If you compare it to the original ship, you see it looks different. The real ship only have the lower parts of the mast, and it's rigged as it was looked like during the winter time when they would have taken down the mast and the sail and have the ship by the harbor. The real ship is 32 meters tall today, from the keel to the top. If all the masts would have been up, the main mast would have been over 52 meters. So that's what the model here tried to show. To have all the 10 sails up at once is actually not correct. They would only have 4 or 5 or maybe up to 6. But we want to show on display how many there were. Yesterday, my colleague Fred talked about how difficult it was to preserve these fragile 6 sails that were found on board the ship in the 1960s. He showed one of the sails, the one we have on display in our museum. It's actually the smallest sail on Vasa, the one on the 4-top gallant sail in the very top. Another thing to show here on the model is, of course, the cannons, the guns that would have made Vasa the most impressive, intimidating warship in 1628. When it comes to the size of Vasa, it's a middle size in Europe, but the firepower with these cannons would be very impressive. On the top here, on the upper deck, you see different kinds, smaller cannons. But on the upper lower gun deck were the special made cannons for our ship. I know my colleague Victor talked about them last week in the battle exhibition that we have, where we have 2 out of the 3 original cannons we have. The 24-pounder cannons were standardized, new and modern, and that was Gustavus Adolphus II who ordered them. So 64 in total were on board the day it sank, and only 3 are left and was brought up in 1961. What happened to the rest of the cannons? Well, we started a research project in 2018 where we called Finding the Vasa Cannons. It's a research project that will be going on for about 10 years, and it's very exciting for us here at the museum. We're going to try to figure out by looking at documents both in England, Holland, or in Denmark, because we think they might have been sold there. We will also try to go back to where Vasa sank and see if any of them are left. We're not really sure. Maybe, perhaps, one of the smaller ones are there. Not sure, though. But we would also like to ask you for help, because around the world there are about 10,000 cannons. And ours are bronze cannons. They are probably melted down, but maybe 1 or 2 are out there somewhere. So wherever you are, please look for our cannons. And they are easy to find because they are marked with GARS, Gustavus Adolphus Rex Suecia, 1626, because that's when they were ordered. So look for our cannons. So, as you understand, there are many things to see on this beautiful model, and I really like it. Shows on all my guided tours. And many details you can see, the sails, the cannons, maybe even the Lion of the North in the front with the gold. And I would like to end the tour by saying, when we open the museum again, I hope you will come and visit us and find your own favorite place here at the museum. Thank you very much for listening. Please come back again and listen to all my colleagues in 1628. So for now, thank you and be safe.